Hi there, this is Mark Ittleman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome to the teaching of talking video. These videos that I put up quite often are informational videos that help those who are seeking knowledge in the treatment of aphasia. And they're specifically geared to two populations. One is the care partner or the caregiver, because the caregiver or the care partner, throughout their whole life, they probably never had to deal with aphasia. And then one day they woke up and something happened and their mate had a stroke and had aphasia and speech was affected. And all of a sudden, they've got to learn about aphasia. What am I going to do? How am I going to go about getting my loved one help? So it's a situation that is very scary for most people, and it's overwhelming for many also. So this particular video today will address some of the principles of aphasia therapy. And if you follow these principles, chances are you'll get improved speaking. Now, I've put up a lot of videos, and many of them are similar but different. And they all pretty much follow a given idea. All right? So if we were going to talk about a given idea, an idea is something that comes to your mind that you either decide that you're going to follow or that you're going to reject. And I'm reading a very interesting book right now on principles. That's right, principles. And so we're going to call this the principles of aphasia therapy. And, you know, there are principles to cooking. There are principles to cleaning. There are principles to marriage. There are many different principles. A principle is a given ideas of how one conducts themselves when it comes to specific aspects of life. So if you have a principle about work, some people have principles that they're going to be on time every day. Some people, they're going to be 10 minutes early every day. And they're very, very uncomfortable if they aren't 10 minutes early. So that's a principle. Another principle is that some people follow is, even if I don't feel good, I'm going to work because I have to make a living. I have to put food on the table. That's another principle, okay? And another principle is that if I'm given a job to do, some people believe that they're going to do it, and they're going to do it and even put more effort into it than is required, okay? So these are personal principles, and these principles are the ideas that we have in our mind that govern what we do. So we have a principle about driving, about how fast we'll go. We have a principle about if we're going to drive, we don't have any alcohol or anything like that. Now, everybody has principles that are well within the rules, and then there are principles that some people don't have. They don't have principles about work, so they're late all the time, or they call in sick, or if they don't have any principles about marriage, they don't respect their wife, or they don't do the kinds of things that you should follow if you're married. So a principle then is a given set of behaviors that you have about just about everything that you do in life. And so this is a very interesting book that I'm reading, because we have principles about how we conduct ourselves at home. We have principles about how we conduct ourselves at work. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the principles of being a caregiver if, and I'm saying if, you want to help your loved one speak better. Now, all the research is saying that the more intensive the stimulation of speech, the better return of speech and language. Okay, so if you want your loved one to speak again, what typically happens, one of the principles of aphasia is that it typically stays the same unless you do something about it. All right? Now, a lot of people think that, oh, well, a week after my aphasia, or a month after, or 3 months after, if I just affirm that I'm going to get better and affirm I'm going to get better, then I'm going to get better. Well, no, that doesn't usually happen that way. I won't say it never happens that way, but in the majority of cases, one of the principles of aphasia is that it pretty much stays the same. In other words, if a person loses their ability to speak, and it doesn't change within a certain period of time, usually anywhere from 1 to 6 months, then chances are it'll pretty much stay the same unless, and I mean unless, you intervene. And that's what we're teaching caregivers how to do, how to intervene and how to take on the role of a speech therapist, really. But you don't really have to be a speech therapist, because if you're a caregiver, you had children who learned to speak. And many of the principles of aphasia therapy are very, very similar to what parents did with children. They started out with sounds. Then they went to single words. They went to milk. They went to cookie. They went to bye-bye. They went to mama. They went to dada. And that's kind of what we have to do also sometimes with a profound or a severe aphasia. We have to start at a very simple level. So another principle of aphasia and aphasia therapy is that quite often you have to go back to the developmental way that speech occurs. So it first starts with sounds, and then it goes to words, and then from words it goes to like 2 words, like bye-bye mommy, or more cookie, or bye-bye daddy, or want more, or night-night. You see? That occurs after the single word phase of language development. So that's another one of the developmental principles of aphasia that typically one has to go through, not in all cases, because our principles aren't definitely set in stone, okay? Most of the time they are, but there are exceptions. So another one of the principles is you have to go through a developmental sequence. And if you bring up a child and you don't talk to the child, and you don't interact with the child when they're infants and when they're toddlers, okay, their speech gets delayed. And we see that often with families that have many children, where the older children do the talking for the baby, and the baby doesn't really develop speech very well because everybody's doing the talking for them. And the same principle occurs in aphasia therapy, that if you anticipate everything that the person with aphasia wants or needs, and you just go ahead and get them, okay, then chances are speech is not really going to develop the way it should after a stroke. Remember that the brain of a person with aphasia has been affected by the stroke, and chances are the speech and language center in the brain is out of commission. So other parts of the brain have to take over, and the other parts of the brain that have to take over really don't do a very good job, but they can, they're able to, but the learning, it takes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times as much energy and repetition as it normally would. So those are some of the principles. Another one of the principles is, I think, that like the child, you have to stimulate their speech just like you do with a child. All day long, whatever you're going to do, you repeat the word, you repeat the words, you try to get your child to say them after you, and that's another one of the principles of aphasia. So, we had just a brief conversation about principles. Principles are rules that we need to follow if we're going to be successful with a particular discipline or aspect of living. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and thanking you for being on this video today with me. And right below this video is a little description of it, and within the video are links to our webpage at teachingoftalking.com. It's a brand new page, and we hope you'll join us over there at the teachingoftalking.com. At the bottom of each page on the website are 2 blue bars. One of them is to get free videos and blogs about aphasia. And you would benefit from that because, especially if you're a caregiver, there's a lot that you need to learn, and that's why I do these. Also at the bottom of the page, there's a little blue bar that says survey or questionnaire. If you'd like some personal mentoring, if you'd like some personal help, if you'd like to really learn the teaching of talking method, which is a method that we use that's been a very highly successful method to help people speak again after aphasia, if you'd like to find out more about that, if you'd like to have a phone conversation with me, down below, there's a survey in the website. At the bottom of each page, there's a blue bar, and it says Survey and Questionnaire. Just click on that and fill out that little survey and send it to me, and I'll get back with you. I'll review it, and I'll get back with you, and I'll make some recommendations to you, okay? So this is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.